difficult thing. We had gone to the US last week. We meant to have gone in February, as organized labor, business, colleagues in government, to try to see what is the appetite for resetting the relationship between colleagues in the US, in government, in Congress, business, labor. What is the conditions they want, and so on. We were actually quite.
This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, in American history. It's our declaration of economic independence.
Efforts will intensify to diversify export destinations, targeting markets across Africa, as well as in Asia, Europe, Middle East, and the Americas. Moreover, such efforts were deemed appropriate, involve bilateral arrangements where these allow for the pursuance of our national interests. In our presidency of the G20, as the recent engagements at the G20 Trade and Investment Working Group indicate, the issue of supply chain geographic diversification is a challenge confronting all open markets economies across the globe.
Prices for everything.
Effective at midnight, we will impose a 25% tariff on all foreign-made automobiles.
Mercedes competed that. It's going to be very difficult. And I can imagine right now, if I was a farmer, I'll be frantically phoning people in Europe or China to see, do you want to buy some grapes, some pecans, and so on. But that's a difficult thing because you can't shift these things so quickly.
Yeah.
But I think also, to be honest, it's also going to hurt consumers in the US. You're going to see inflation spiking. You're going to see goods becoming very expensive that they don't produce. We've also seen concerns from our colleagues in the trade union movement in the US who fear that they can lose jobs as a consequence. So we hope that there's space for discussion. We hope there's a space for a better alternative, which will benefit both sides of the discussion. But right now, it doesn't.
The globe. This diversification supports South Africa's industrial strategy and reduces the dependence on single destinations markets for our exports or single sources for intermediate input requirements, fostering resilience in line with national economic priorities. South Africa will leverage the Africa Continental Free Trade Area to bolster intra-Africa trade, fostering stronger regional economic integration and cooperation. This approach
we engaged with decision makers at the National Security Council, at the White House, at the US State Department at a relatively high level, and at Congress, at both the House of Representatives and the Senate, with both Democrats and Republicans. So it's clear that, and it's globally, it's not just related to South Africa, it's clear that the Trump administration is definitely going to be a lot more transactional than his predecessors. They want deals, they want quid pro quo deals that put America first. We also know that the aid cuts and the PEPFAR cut is not specific to South Africa. It's part of a broader Department of Government Efficiency mission. But essentially what we wanted to do was we wanted to open direct communication channels to discuss with lawmakers and policymakers at the administrative and the legislative level what it is that's going to be required by President Donald Trump and his policy advisors from South Africa and from our government in terms of shoring up trust, in terms of continuing to build on our trade and security relationship. We discussed, of course, the need for a comprehensive reform of South Africa's foreign policy agenda in line with the GNU Statement of Intent, our commitment to non-alignment. We also discussed what action the DA had taken in terms of the Expropriation Act, and we conveyed to decision makers in DC that South Africa has strong institutions, strong judiciary. We are confident that the judiciary will continue to uphold, safeguard the private property rights of South Africans. We were able to communicate a little bit more information in terms of crime being a broader issue than just related to specifically